It's time for Let's Chat with Russtek, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs just like you. When starting out, entrepreneurs often feel they need to go it alone, and I'm here to tell you that's just not the case. Entrepreneurs have a lot of questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Nick Russell, and this is Let's Chat with Russtek. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat with Russtek. My name is Nick Russell, and on my way into work on an October afternoon back in 2016, I was absolutely blown away. Now, a few days prior to that, I got an email from my district manager from the beer store saying he wanted me to come in for an appraisal, which was kind of odd considering our appraisals were a few months before that. And the numbers and stats at the store that I had just taken over were doing extremely well. I had taken the store over from a previous manager that kind of ran it into the ground a little bit. So I was a little dumbfounded as why I had to go for an appraisal. But I packed up my lunch, got in the car, and off I went to our district manager's office before I headed out of town to the store that I managed. I got to the store and I came into my district manager in the office and two people from our HR department. Now my heart sank. I had no idea what was going on. I wasn't prepared for this meeting at all. And one of the lessons that I learned from a previous manager, he had said, if the manager's doing their job, you should never, ever be blindsided by a pat on the back because you're doing a good job, or you should never be blindsided for getting in trouble and getting scolded. So I was going into a meeting and I was completely blindsided, having no idea what was going on. I knew I was doing a good job, but I didn't do anything that great that it needed a meeting like this. And all my numbers were way up. So walking into this meeting, I was just blown out of the water as to what was about to happen. I went in and my district manager didn't even look me in the eye. He had a script on his desk, looked down, read his script, and he walked out. Don't remember what that said exactly, but basically in all of my shock, I just remember they were letting me go. Sat with the person from HR for a little bit, and then they brought in an outside company that helps people find new careers. And I really wanted nothing to do with it at the point. I was just heartbroken. I was in complete shock. Because again, I had been doing so well at this store, and the store had been doing so well. I had no idea where this came from. Now, the funny thing is that all led into this. A few months prior to that, I had a full-timer that was able to do pretty much what he wanted. And I'm a guy that runs things by the books. If I have to work on a Friday night, our full-timer has to work on a Friday night. If I have to work a Saturday during the day, the full-timer has to work Saturday during the day. And I was actually pretty lenient. I only did one of each in a month when there should be a lot more. And I did the same for my full-timer to kind of pat him on the back for all his hard work during the week. Now, fortunately, this full-timer and I did not get along. And I wanted to hash things out. So I invited him to leave work early one day as I was coming in late. I was going to buy him a couple beers and some wings at a local bar close by before I went into work. And I wasn't going to have beer. I was just going to have pop because I was going to work, but I was going to buy him some beers. Well, he didn't show up to the meeting. Set a meeting. He wanted his union rep, which oddly enough was his father, the way the districts all worked out. So we had a meeting I called the meeting. My boss was there. His dad, the union rep, was there, and I was there. He didn't show up to that either. And it got to the point where we had another meeting scheduled, and he was kind of forced to go because the head of the union showed up. And it was funny, in the meeting, everybody agreed that we needed to work things out. and everyone was on my side except for my boss. The two union reps were actually on my side in the argument, which was kind of weird. Took it as is. We went back, and it came down to a Friday morning, and he lost his temper and threw a wine bottle, because we took returns back, empty liquor bottles back. He threw a wine bottle at me, and I sent him home. Now, this was just about a week before I got let go. And sadly enough, after that, and you heard the story a couple minutes ago, that I got let go. Now, this just threw me in a turmoil. I'd been at the beer store for 16 years, and that's all I knew, except for the fact of the Returns for Leukemia bottle drive that I worked with, and the marketing side of that, where I promoted the event using Twitter, Facebook, and eventually Instagram when that came onto the scene. But other than using social media to promote events in the beer store, I had no idea what to do. Luckily for me, I had money coming from the beer store. I kind of got that golden handshake from them. So I had a little bit of time I took off. I took a couple of weeks just to decompress and assess the situation, see what was going on and what I wanted to do. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I loved the bottle drive and what I did there. And I loved promoting that event. So I dove a little deeper, and I took every webinar and course and training you could possibly think of to use social media to promote your business. And then I got to thinking, well, instead of learning all these skills and working for another company, that's not something that I want. I don't want to have to answer to somebody else. I wonder if I could do this by myself and become a boss, become an entrepreneur, become a business owner where I can help others. And that's when the dream started to become a reality. That's when the hamster started running at full speed in my brain. And that's when I decided I was going to start my own business and use social media and all things digital to help entrepreneurs grow. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we talked about everything from the Dotcom Secrets book, or a good portion of that. And we talked about finding your attractive character. We talked about your value ladder and all of those things. Now, the way I started this podcast, I told you my story. I told you my backstory. And the reason I told you that story is I wanted to lead that into his next book, Russell Brunson's next book, Expert Secrets. Now, at the beginning of that book, it's all about finding your voice and providing value. Now, when he talks about that, there are 5 stages, and they're broken down into two categories. Can't speak. They're broken down into the growth category and the contribution category. Now, when I left the beer store and I started taking all these trainings and webinars and courses and seminars and all these things, that was part of my growth stage. And in that stage, there are two phases. There's the dreamer phase and the reporter phase. So when you get into the dreamer phase, that's obviously dreaming up all the concepts and ideas and passions and going over the passions that you have and wanting to build that business or build something where you're able to serve others and help others. That's where you get to experiment and contribute and try to find your voice. And then when you get to the next stage, you get to the reporter stage. That's the stage where you get to go to networking events, live seminars, virtual seminars, webinars, and learn and just absorb all of that knowledge. And with that knowledge, take that as you're finding your voice and use that to contribute. Post content, publish. Get your voice out there and start perfecting your voice. I've been doing this since early 2017, and I still haven't perfected my voice. I don't think I'm a good writer in any way, shape, or form if you've read my blogs. When it comes to these podcasts and YouTube videos, I'm publishing my content and I'm not pushing it out there. I make one post a week to get people to my podcast and to my the YouTube video, and that's it. I'm not pushing this, and there's no real launch for this podcast because right now I just want to find my voice still. I want to publish and get the content out there. When I start perfecting all of this, that's when I'll really do that launch. And that's what the reporter phase is. Because when you think about a reporter phase, they go out and they gather all kinds of information, then they write an article and publish it, or they write a script and go on air with that and report what they just found. It's the same thing for us as entrepreneurs. We gather information, we learn as much as we can, we take everything we learn, and that's where we start creating frameworks in our business to help others. And it was funny, just a couple of weeks ago, I attended a live virtual event by Russell Brunson called Ecom vs. Expert. So Russell Brunson and Allison Prince had hosted this event. Allison Prince was the ecom side and Russell was the expert side. And the whole event was, what's better? What can you use in your business? This is how you sell ecom products, e-commerce products. This is how you're an expert and sell your digital products. And I knew going into the event, the framework that Russell uses to teach. Now, I didn't go in wanting to see what the battle was about, who won this battle. I wanted to see how he taught it. I wanted to see, more importantly, how Allison taught her side and how she used that framework that Russell has in these events and taught us the value that they had, and then to see how they used that to pitch what they needed to pitch at the end of that. And in the Facebook group, in the private Facebook group that we were all a part of, we were networking and chatting back and forth. And I wasn't the only one there that was just simply there to relearn, to rewatch how Russell teaches a brand new event and uses that framework. Because I brought myself back to the reporter stage. I wanted to gather information, learn, and then go back and create content with the information that I had just learned in that event. And that's how you start finding your voice. That's how you start to publish. That's how you start really getting your message out there. And believe me, you may hate telling your story over and over and again, but the more you tell your story, the more you perfect that story and are able to use that in telling other stories from your past that help you sell a product, sell a digital product, sell your business, and help others as well. So that's really all I had for you in this podcast. And again, like I said, before we were talking in January, we were talking about Dotcom Secrets. Now I want to bring you some of the value that I took away and I learned from the Expert Secrets book. And just like Dotcom Secrets, that book is absolutely free. So if you click the link in the description, you'll be able to go to Russell's funnel and see how he does the frameworks in his funnels. And the best part is you get Expert Secrets free. And like Dotcom Secrets, it's one of the best books I've ever read. And it's a textbook for me now. It's something I refer to and go back to over and over and over again as I help serve all of you. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast, and I can't wait to chat with you again next week. Hold up one quick second. I have one thing to offer you, and it's absolutely free. So just give me about 20, 30 seconds of your time, and I promise you this is going to be worth it. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast, my blogs for the last few weeks, we've been talking about Expert Secrets, a book by Russell Brunson. Now, this is a book you can get absolutely free. All you have to do is click the link to the description of this podcast or YouTube video if you're watching it. But this is not just any book. This is a book that helps you find your message, no matter what your industry is, and use that to serve your audience and become an expert in whatever field it is you're in. Now, this book is what Russell uses, everything from cover to cover. He uses this to coach his clients, and to be one of his clients, he charges $10,000. So you could either spend $10,000 to learn from the best marketer in the world, or you can click the link in the description of this podcast / YouTube video and get your copy of Expert Secrets absolutely free. I've read this book about 4 or 5 times at least, and I use it as a textbook now because it is that good. So again, if you want Expert Secrets for free, something Russell Brunson uses and charges his clients $10,000 for, you can get that absolutely free by clicking the link in the description of this video or heading to rustekmedia.com/links and click on the Expert Secrets button.